Hello, my dark-sided children. It is I, Krosky von Kronos. It's so good to see you all, or talk to you all, because I don't really get to see any of you, sadly, over the internet, but I get to speak to you all, and that makes me very happy. I don't much get the opportunity to speak to you all nowadays, considering there's villains on this channel that do most of the content production for me, but sometimes it's good just to, speak to you all face to face, in a sense, right? It's nice. Now, you rarely get the opportunity to speak to someone face to face nowadays, what with all this stuff about social media and, just the fact that people don't really want to talk anymore. No one really wants to have a conversation and discuss their problems. And that's, I think, part of the problem that we're facing nowadays in this country. I mean, no one really wants to talk to each other and understand each other or use empathy to put each other in people's shoes. Spend a day in the life of the other guys, as it were. This is a bit of a serious video because, I just wanted to, I feel like I have an obligation to talk about this. I rarely veer into real world politics on this channel, and this video isn't really about taking the side of any one political faction currently domineering US politics or world politics. I personally have very little interest in the inner workings of those groups because I feel like neither one really represents the interests of the American people in any significant form regardless. But that besides, um, some elixir, drinking some elixir. I just feel like I just wanted to discuss the disenfranchisement around the country, really, of young men, really. You know, and being in that class myself, and I'm sure many, many, many of you are as well, if not a vast majority of my viewers. I actually don't think I know a single female viewer of my content, so it's a bit of a sausage fest in my viewership. Which is completely fine. But just pointing that out. Young men, young guys, growing into adulthood in this fucked up, fractured society. I mean, it seems like we can't do anything without making a mistake. We can't do anything without being criticized. We can't say something without being, scrutinized. That's a good word for it. Scrutinized over the things we say, and I just think that's so sad, really, because, it wasn't even like that a decade ago, really. I mean, sure, in the 2010s there were some signs, but the culture was not nearly as restrictive or as hostile as it is now. It just feels like to fit in with the wider society that has been constructed within certain circles of the United States, which is definitely presenting itself as the domineering social and cultural force in the United States going forward. To fit in with this circle, with this group of entities, you just have to, as a young man, kind of fit their mold. You can't say the wrong things. You have to always be smiling. You have to pussify yourself. Yeah, that's a good word. Pussify. It's not even a real word, but it's a very apt description for the type of problem I'm seeing. I'm seeing young men basically lose their identities, becoming hollow versions of their former selves over pursuits like romantic companionship or social acceptance and in-group. It's one thing to pretend to be someone you're not in the real world, to maybe avoid controversy and have an easy time at your workspace or at your school, but it's another thing entirely to remove or significantly alter inner aspects of yourself in order to garner the validation of others. Now, if you genuinely are improving yourself, or you think that those aspects of yourself that you're removing or altering significantly should have those things done to them, then more power to you. I'm not really judging you for that. I'm addressing this to the young men who feel as though They're doing it simply because they have to fit a certain ideal, a certain niche, and if they don't, then they will be alone, they will be isolated. And make no mistake, they will be. It's not merely a fearful assumption that a lot of these young guys are making. It's a genuine a genuine threat, that these things can happen to you, right? Like if you say the wrong thing and that becomes blasted on social media, that's basically the end of you as a person that can have any sort of career advancement or social mobility or any type of, outward life, right? And this is not to excuse someone just blatantly saying terrible things about other people. You shouldn't be doing that. I believe that that's just a waste of time and energy as a man if you're focusing yourself purely on toxicity and hatred. Funny enough for me to say, of course, considering the content I produce on this channel, but again, that's mostly against fictional characters, so I feel like I hit a pass, right? I don't feel like as a man you should be investing yourself in hatred. You should not be putting your soul into spite. I've gone down that road before, and it leads to nothing productive. You just feel less unfulfilled and angrier by the day. And it just makes you it just throws you down a slippery slope, and you just continue slipping and slipping down that slope until you fall into like this abyssal well where there is no escape. So don't fall into that trap of like wanting to, be envious or spiteful or hateful of other people. And I'm not saying, of course, you can't feel those emotions at times if you're provoked or if you genuinely feel wronged or slighted, but just don't make that your entire life, right? Don't make your entire personality revolving around taking revenge or exacting your fantasies of vengeance upon, same thing. Taking that retribution upon a person or upon a group of people, because that will lead you nowhere. Even if you are somehow successful, and 99% of the time you won't be, because trust me, the phrase when you want to take revenge, dig two graves is a genuine phrase. Even if you somehow do succeed, you're gonna feel unfulfilled. Because then you're gonna be like, okay, what now? I mean, I got revenge on the people who ruined my life or they wronged me significantly. So what I'm trying to say in this tangent is don't invest yourself in an ideology that's purely corrosive. But at the same time, I mean, as males, we are aggressive and we might say things we regret, or we might say things that, we genuinely feel because, society expects us to keep everything bottled in all the time, to make everyone around us comfortable. But when it's our turn for some emotional release, everyone just kind of looks at us like we're aliens from another planet here to take their landmarks and, burn their children or something like that. It's just we're looked at like, complete weirdos, insane freaks, strangers, people to not talk to. And other men who witness that, and perhaps a partner or some other force in their life is telling them, don't interact with that man, he's too emotional. And then that man loses his friend group on top of any hope of, finding a romantic, partner to be with, or on top of losing their social standing and, their public perception. They're just completely isolated, their support systems are disintegrated, and of course he just falls into sadness, falls into darkness and malaise, and it's just such a sad thing to happen. I feel like so many true potentials are being squandered at this very moment. So many have been squandered already. Think of every bright, intelligent, incredibly intelligent young mind that suicide has taken from us. And it's such a sad thing to ponder about, right? Because it's like, that could have been a future philosopher, writer, engineer, doctor, dentist, someone who controls fate and destiny and grabs the world by the balls and says, this is my hour. The world is my oyster. I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna go out and kick life in the teeth, right? But life kicked them in the teeth. Now they're gone. And it's just so terrible to really ruminate over. I guess I'm saying all this because I've just personally experienced some of this, and I've seen this happen to many, many other young men throughout my life where they have changed irrevocably for the worse, in my opinion. to accommodate the feelings of one group of people, regardless of politics. If you're asking about like if this is politicized to Democrat or Republican, I've seen both sides on the internet culture war sphere. The red pill and the blue pill spheres just kind of completely hollow out and ruin a person from the inside out. So this is not that. You know, it's just kind of like a call to action. That's what this video is. It's just a short, quick call to action. You know, as a young man, if you're feeling isolated, you know, if you feel like no one cares about you, if you feel like you're never going to have love in your life, if you're never going to have real companionship, I felt that before. I know how that feels. You never really get over it entirely. It's a very isolating feeling to know that no one on this earth will ever understand you, or connect with you, or really be there when you need them the most, and it's a very sad feeling. But what you need to do is you need to build support systems to ensure that even if that stuff does happen, you have backups to fall back on. That's a bad way of putting it. You have people to fall back on even when you're feeling at your lowest, right? Like, for me, I have some friends as my support system, trying to build more support systems through my creative work, my talents. That's my talent, right? That's my talent, it's writing. And through my writing, I feel like I can really, really express myself. I love writing, I love reading, of course I love consuming media as well, you know, watching stuff and whatnot, but writing and reading, that's my bread and butter right there. And that's how I, as a human being, am able to make my mark on this world. Because I'm not very intelligent. I'm not going to pretend that I am. I'm not some genius techno whiz, even though arguably I should be. I mean, I grew up with computers, but, you know, I still can't figure out how one works, or, you know, how to update my NVIDIA control panel. Yeah. But you know, I'm not the most brilliant tool in the shed, but I do know what my talents are. I'm a fucking brilliant writer, and I'm gonna own that. You know, as a man, you shouldn't be too arrogant, but you should be self-confident. If there's something you're good at, own it. Own it. That's yours. That's your field. That's your shit. And the best part is you can collaborate with other experts in that field, and together, collaboratively, you can create something beautiful. Or you don't even have to collaborate. You could just, like, take their ideas. Maybe they take ideas from each other. You guys just engage in the marketplace of ideas and inspire each other to pursue and build your own paths of greatness, to change the world in your own ways. Right? So if you're feeling isolated from humans, you feel alienated from your community, find a niche, man. Find a hobby. Find something you're good at. Construction, mathematics, labor, writing, philosophy, science, biology, the arts, right? There's so many different things you can bury yourself in that could be such a great help mentally and even physically and emotionally. Just exercise. It's such a tired, advice, right? I'm sorry, but like, just getting some sun, you know, is surprisingly so healing for you, right? Just like going outside if you can, because not everyone. Remember, guys, life is such a short, precious, and beautiful thing, and the fact that so many people experience life only through the lens of absolute suffering in certain parts of the world, I mean, we really are blessed, guys. Count your blessings. That's what I would say. But also, if you're feeling lonely, maybe embrace villainy like I did. Because what I did, right, I learned very early on that a thing like a romantic relationship was not in the cards. I learned that very, very early on in my life, I think. I think I realized that, and keenly after I became aware of it, I spent so much time in agony or just wondering what was wrong with me or how I could fix myself. But I realized I didn't really want to be fixed. That was not what I wanted out of life. I don't want to just live as normal humans do, build a family and then wait for my children to supplant me and then die. I mean, it's as Henry Creel said from Stranger Things, it's such an insane, cyclical, hellish order that humans willingly put themselves through for really, I mean, I can't even discern the reason. I get why there's things like society and an economy and, why people have jobs, but at the same time, it just all feels so insane and unhinged to me. I can't fathom it sometimes. But, you know, regardless, excuse me, when I recognized what my weaknesses were, I decided to instead push forward my strengths. I'm not good at emotional things. I'm not good at talking to people that much socially, and I'm not really much of a mathematician or, scientist type of person. I'm not really good at the empirical arts. Not arts, but, empirical fields of study. So what I did was I went in on my niche. I'm a very creative person. I decided to invest myself in that niche, invest myself in expanding that niche into a brand. That's how I became the villain, the Dark Lord, etc., etc. Not, exactly the most widespread thing. I mean, I don't have many subscribers compared to at least my amount of videos, but I'm still doing it because it makes me happy. You gotta find something that makes you happy, That's what it's all about. And since a lot of you are subscribed to this channel, I can only assume that means a lot of you guys like the idea of being a villain or being in the villain's army, right? So why not, man? Join my Discord. Talk to me. I mean, I won't talk about certain subjects that I feel are inappropriate or strange or weird to discuss with people I don't know that well, but I'm willing to talk, give some of my time to you, you give some of your time to me, we're both respectful, we have a nice, decent conversation. We might even have opposing views, I don't mind, so long as we have a productive dialogue, and I can learn something from you, I can take some of your ideas and put them in my own mindscape, and you could do the same from me, and vice versa. Or you don't even have to take my ideas, But we could just talk for a little bit, I mean, I am a very lonely person. I don't get to talk to many people on a daily basis. And the people I do talk to, it's mostly just about, dispassionate things, not really interesting things, work and school, stuff like that. It's just, I talk to my friends, and that's basically it, man. Those are some of the few people I think can at least come close to understanding me. But, not fully. But regardless, guys, as a young man, I know what it feels like to be in a sort of nasty position and to hate yourself emotionally and mentally and feel like there's no hope. But there is always hope. There's always a tomorrow, and you're gonna feel better. It does get better, guys. It does get better. I know that sounds insane, especially for someone like me, for someone whose entire online persona is built around being evil. That's crazy for me to say, but I can assure you it does. Every struggle you think you have in your life, it's only permanent if you let it be permanent. You can make that pain temporary, that grief temporary. It'll stay with you forever, and you will always have a piece of yourself missing, I feel like, if you've gone through something terrible. But you can move on. You can still be someone whole, even if a piece is missing, if you just divest in what you're really good at. And, try and build something. That's what I'm doing. Every day I'm trying to build this dark empire, right? Because that's what I love doing. That's why I wake up in the morning. This is my motivation, to make videos. My motivation in life is to make videos on this channel, write more chapters in my fanfic, add to my blog, create new sources of content for you guys to enjoy, like my Twitch, maybe. Starting a Twitch, live streaming on YouTube, participating in roleplay events so you guys can see my crazy adventures in it. That's what I'm here for. And that's just the beginning. I want to do so much more. I have so many plans. And I want to stop procrastinating on them and just start enacting them, as many as I can this year. This will be the lock-in year, the lock-in year. So yeah, guys, thank you all so much for listening to my video. Love your support. Thank you all for continuing to watch this channel and subscribe and just give me the validation that sometimes I feel like I cannot feasibly move to another day without. You give me a reason to keep going, right? And, you know, we might be small in number, the subscribers to this channel, this little motley crew of villains, but we'll grow. We'll grow. And we'll grow through our writing, we'll grow through roleplay, we'll grow through reading and just doing amazing things together. I know it will. And you know what? Even if we don't, even if this all peters out into nothing and this channel just ends up dead, at least I tried, right? And that's all you can do on this planet, in this world, this crazy fucked up world where everyone is just embracing some new unforeseen identity and new ideologies and new schools of belief and new ways of interpreting the world are seemingly materializing out of thin air like every day. The most you can do is just try and make your own mark on this planet and leave your own legacy for the rest of humanity to admire or revile, or however you want to be remembered. Negatively, positively, or neutrally, but just be remembered. That's immortality right there. Be remembered. That's what I'll leave you guys with today. This was a tangent. I wasn't really going anywhere specific with this. I just feel like I wanted to get this out for like even if there's like one person who watches this video in its entirety and feels inspired or feels relatable to this content that I'm saying, and maybe they want to talk to me, or maybe they just take this information, try and make something of their own lives that's not necessarily just bonding with others, but like building themselves up, then I'd be happy with that. I'd be really happy with that. Hey, let me know if you guys like this advice in the comments. I'm going to make more videos like this discussing the state of young men, especially in the United States, and how men, as both a group and as individuals, can navigate this tumultuous world. But this is all just lived experience. Again, I'm not like some manosphere celebrity or some kind of blue pill authority or any kind of political or social activist or idealist. I'm not known. Like, I said this all without a script. This is just like my train of thought, my rambling. None of this is actually connected to anything. This is not a script. It's just me saying something that I felt like needed to be said. Alright, guys. Thank you again for watching Darksiders. Have a good one. See you on the next one. Peace.